Friends, let's show our appreciation to the culinary and hospitality team here at the Edmonton Convention Centre. Another unbelievable job. I always marvel at what they can pull off multiple times a week. In just a moment, I will hand the podium over to His Worship Mayor Sohi, who has a message to everybody here and to everybody who's going to be paying attention to what is said here in this room today. And then, of course, we'll have an opportunity to hear a one-on-one with Doug Griffiths, Chamber CEO, and His Worship. That'll follow the mayor's address. But as mentioned earlier, this event, the State of the City, would not be happening without the incredible support from our friends at Epcor. And as I invite Epcor's CEO, John Elford, to join me up here at the podium, I'll ask you to give your attention to this brief video. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Epcor CEO, John Elford.
And Park and Ford Canada's tailgate party. Safe and great tasting tap water is something all Edmontonians can enjoy. It's particularly refreshing after all that cheering. Last summer, at local events and festivals, our water station supplied over 80,000 liters of water, the equivalent of avoiding the use of 150,000 plastic bottles. A win for the community and for the environment. Epcor is pleased to be back again this year as a presenting sponsor of this year's State of the City Address. It's an event that gives us a chance to connect on our common interests, making this city the best that it can be. And Edmonton is a major growing city, and with that comes our share of challenges, opportunities, and potential for the future. And that's why we're here. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Mayor Sohi, as I'm sure everyone else in the room is too. Epcor is passionate about Edmonton. While we continue to grow our operations across North America, our home is and always will be here. I'm pleased to share that last year here in the city, we made capital investments of over $760 million in various projects to support the growth, maintenance, and resiliency of essential water, wastewater, and electricity services so we can all live our lives each and every day. I'd also like to touch on a different kind of investment that we make, an investment in today's youth, which is in turn an investment in our community. Epcor works closely on a mentoring program with Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Edmonton and area. Currently, 36 of our staff mentor 60 local students at 3 different Epcor sites. Students are bused to our offices once a week and spend lunch hour with our team members, playing games, reading, and forming lasting friendships. The program is so popular with our staff and students that we plan to expand it to 2 more Epcor sites this fall, adding up to 25 new mentors. One of the great things about the program is not just the impact it has on the kids, but the impact it has on the mentors. They get as much out of it as they put in. As an example, one of our team members in electricity saw his mentee's confidence grow as they spent the year together. And the mentee drew him a picture and wrote on it, "Thank you for being kind and being my friend." That really hit home for our team member, and that sign still hangs in their office today. When we talk about investments in community, mentoring demonstrates that sometimes one of the most valuable things we can give back is our time. Overall, across Edmonton and area, BGC Big's youth are waiting to be matched with a mentor, 700 of them right now. It's an incredible need and an even more incredible opportunity. So I encourage all of you to grab that little tent card at the table with the QR code on it, scan it, and take a moment to learn a little more how you or your organization can make an impact on youth mentorship in our community. I'm sure many of us in this room wouldn't have gotten to where we are today without some great mentor in our lives. These young folks deserve the same opportunity. And with that, as we focus on today, and we all anticipate from hearing from you, Mayor Sohi, we'd like to learn more about your vision for how we can get together and work together to create a brighter future for Edmonton. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John. And again, thanks to Epcor for making this afternoon's event possible. I think it's safe to say that Mayor Sohi, his wife, Amarjeet, it's wonderful to see you here today as well, are fierce champions for this city. I think you can say the same. Ambassadors in this room, eager to hear what the plan is, what's the perspective amid some serious and significant but not unsurmountable challenges. Let's get to it. Please extend a warm welcome to His Worship, Edmonton Mayor Amarjeet Sohi.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and thank you to Edmonton Chamber of Commerce for hosting us here today in the heart of our city. I am here with my wife, Amarjeet, who is my biggest champion, always standing by me and always there. And I was getting a little bit nervous getting on the stage, and she squeezed my hand, said, "Go do it. You'll do it." Thank you so much, Amarjeet. Really appreciate that. I also would like to start by thanking Elder Moran. And we're trying to figure out if we can figure out the Jersey part today. We'll see if we can do that. For sharing her voice and prayer with us and reminding us of our collective responsibility to advance reconciliation. Land acknowledgements do not exist in the past tense. They're about today and the future we want to build together. This is Treaty 6 territory, the traditional gathering place and meeting ground for the Cree, Blackfoot, Likorasu, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, and many others. We acknowledge this land is also within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Indigenous peoples are an integral part of our story, both our past and our future. And one of the first names for this land was Amisquachi Waskai Hegan. Today, Edmonton has many names. We are the festival city, the city of champions, River City, gateway to the north, E-Town, Alberta's capital city. We're oil country and home of the Edmonton Oilers. Each name tells a story. So what story do you want to tell? I asked that question to my young friends at City Hall School. They shared some love about our home.
Hi, my name is Alora. I love Edmonton because I get to go to EPL Library. My name is Brooke, and I love swimming at London Dairy. Hi, my name is Damaris, and I love Edmonton. I play with my friends in the park. Hi, my name is Hannah, and I like the 18th. My name is Michael, and I love Edmonton because the LRT is so fast. And I love Edmonton because Oilers play.
Today, I want to tell you the story I see in Edmonton. The story about how we are investing in this city together and how those investments are paying off. More people are choosing to build their lives in Edmonton. Our story is about growth. And all of the reason people choose to move and stay here, like affordability, access to quality public services, community opportunity, and a good quality of life. The province said Alberta is calling. Well, Edmonton is the answer. Our city is growing faster than what we planned for. More than 100,000 people have moved here since 2022. While population growth means more revenue for the provincial and federal governments, it means more expense for the city. 100,000 new people means an additional 40,000 new households that need municipal services, and 65,000 vehicles, which would fill the West Edmonton Mall parking lot, the world's largest parking lot, 3.25 times. It means we need to invest in the services that keep us safe, like police and fire. Services that help us move, like roads and transit. Services that help us live well, like libraries, parks, and recreation centers. It also means we need to invest in the hardworking people who deliver these quality public services each and every day. Growth is good for our city. It expands our economy, brings new opportunities and new ideas. It brings diversity and vibrancy. And to accommodate this growth, we must invest now. I know the people in this room see the value of economic indicators in our story. Let me give you some numbers. Our region added over 40,000 new jobs between 2022 and 2023. And we're expecting another 23,000 jobs next year. In 2023 alone, we saw an increase of 13% in the number of new businesses incorporated in Edmonton. Now, for hockey-related reasons, let me tell you how Edmonton is better than Vancouver. Just like Oilers, we will beat the Canucks in the playoffs. Yes. So just like the Oilers will beat the Canucks in the playoffs, Edmonton's GDP growth of 3% beat Vancouver's 1.6%. Yeah. That means Edmonton's growth is almost double. We also beat Vancouver in the Canadian Home Builders Association's ranking of municipal affordability and permitting. Yes, Vancouver placed 12th, while Edmonton was number 1, just like our power play. Yeah. So people are choosing Edmonton because they can see that we are on the right track. We also have some big wins for our Team Edmonton partners. Edmonton International Airport has seen a 28% increase in travelers since 2022. And WestJet's largest expansion in YEG includes the new service to Atlanta, Minneapolis, and Seattle. In 2023, over 1,300 innovators worked with Edmonton Unlimited. These startups are creating jobs 20 times faster than the national average. And this year, Explore Edmonton generated $329 million in economic impact by attracting and producing events. And Edmonton Global supported 14 investments totaling over $250 million in capital expenditures and creating almost 600 jobs across the region. These numbers tell the story that the change we were planning for is already here and is fueling our economic growth. And your city council is responding to this growth by closing the funding gap for core municipal services. Our investments are achieving results. Edmonton's bus ridership was the first in Canada to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels because our council refused to back down on supporting a core service that moves 53.5 million riders a year. As a result, ETS ridership has grown by 27% over 2023. Just think about the traffic gridlock and pollution if those 53.5 million riders used personal vehicles. These investments help everyone. We have increased base funding for snow clearing by 20%. And we are clearing most used roads and pathways faster. One proof? You can follow Amarjeet Sohi and other plows around the city online. And that plow works even longer hours than I do. Infrastructure investments in projects like Yellowhead Trail, Treviliger Drive, and 50th Street Rail Crossing are spurring economic growth by facilitating the movement of people, goods, and services. And yes, this includes investments in the active modes of transportation like bike lanes. Because everyone in this city deserves to have a safe and affordable way to move around. Catching up on core services also means consistent funding for public safety and well-being. Since taking office, this council has increased the police budget by nearly 20%. We also added 50 new peace officers, doubled our transit outreach teams, and funded 24/7 crisis response teams who have interacted with over 55,000 Edmontonians, diverting many of them from costly emergency services. I stand behind these investments because I firmly believe that every Edmontonian deserves to feel safe in our city. We have also taken significant strides toward advancing anti-racism and reconciliation work, recognizing the importance of justice, equality, and healing in our collective journey toward building an Edmonton for all of us. And we have intensified our efforts in combating climate change, revamping zoning regulations to foster growth that is denser, more inclusive, and more financially and sustainably and environmentally sustainable. And as we fund immediate priorities, we're also building the Edmonton of the future. The City of Edmonton issued over 15,000 building permits in 2023, resulting in over $3 billion of investment in construction activity. Red tape reduction efforts have saved customers and businesses time and money to the tune of $5 million and over 67,000 days of processing time annually. This is good story I'm sure that Minister Nelly would appreciate. Yeah. And we're also making progress in tackling the housing and houselessness crisis. When I was elected 2.5 years ago, Edmonton was getting $14 million less annually for wraparound services, and our shelter capacity was only 1/3 compared to Calgary. I'm proud to say that due to my persistent advocacy and Minister Nixon's support, we are going into the winter with an adequate number of permanently funded shelter spaces. Our capacity has increased from 700 shelters to 1,700 spaces. And these shelters are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this includes transitional beds run and led by Indigenous providers. City Council has also approved an investment of $183 million for affordable housing. We're leveraging that investment with federal, provincial, and community dollars. Last month, I announced the first project funded by the City of Edmonton's new Indigenous Affordable Housing Investment Grant, a new seniors housing project in Northeast Edmonton to be built by Métis Capital Housing Corporation. I believe that collaboration is the key to success. My recent meetings with the Provincial Minister Jason Nixon, Federal Minister Sean Fraser, and TD6 Grand Chief Cody Thomas is an example of the collaboration necessary to reduce barriers and build affordable housing in response to Edmonton's unique housing needs. And today, I am so pleased to announce another important collaboration. Let me introduce you to our Community Mobilization Task Force on Housing and Houselessness. This multidisciplinary group will work on ways to cut through bureaucratic roadblocks and seek market-ready solutions to the housing emergency. We are grateful that Homeward Trust has agreed to play an advisory role. Members of the task force, please stand as I introduce you. My council colleague, Aaron Rutherford, former Edmonton City Councilor Michael Fair, Danica Matichuk from Leston Holdings, Doug Griffiths, Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Joshua Evans, University of Alberta, Glory Sharphead, Enoch Cree Wellness, Gord Johnston from Severa, Jim Brown, Sherrick Developments, Kerry Cardinal, Niggin and Housing Ventures, Margot Long, Youth Empowerment and Support Services, Mike Saunders, Colco Development, Marie Soroka, Jasper Place Wellness, Nick Lilly Home Ed, Omar Yaqub, Islamic Family and Social Services Association, Rob Yeager, United Way, and Tina Thomas, Edmonton Community Foundation. Living through the pandemic, our community has gone through a lot. That is why it is so important that we continue to invest in things that bring hope, joy, and optimism. Local festivals, events, theater, arts, and culture are the heartbeat of a city. They create economic growth, but they also help build a vibrant community. That is why we're continuing our support for the Edmonton Arts Council, stabilizing screen industries and Explore Edmonton funding, and providing additional support to attract more local, national, and international events to our city. Events like the first WNBA game Edmonton hosted, and we sold it out. Through safety, housing, culture, and more, we are investing in Edmonton. However, as we invest back in municipal core services, we also face new financial pressures, like the rising costs of inflation, energy, fuel, and labor. These pressures have required property tax increases. We take this increase very seriously and are working diligently to reduce spending and find efficiencies. Since 2015, these reductions and efficiencies have resulted in a cumulative savings of almost $2 billion. But we are not done yet. In April, City Council approved my motion to take an unprecedented look at our finances. City administration, led by our interim city manager, Eddie Robar, will assess our finances from top to bottom, including revenue opportunities, tax rates, service levels, and capital and operating expenditures. However, the financial challenges we are facing cannot be fixed by the local governments alone. We need all levels of government to step up instead of cycle services currently funded by property taxes, and ensuring that the province pays its fair share of property taxes on buildings which require municipal services. I discussed these priorities with Minister McIver this week, and I remain encouraged that they will work with us to resolve these concerns. I welcome your support and advocacy on these issues as we work together to build a strong and prosperous city. The growth we are seeing in our city and in our region is exciting. Our story is exciting. Edmontonians have a lot to be proud of, and we all must share our story of positive growth with the world. The people in this room and beyond are capable of tackling the challenges that growth brings. We have done this in the past. We are doing it now, and we will do it into the future. Just like hockey, building a city is a team sport. And like hockey, Edmonton's team is up to the challenge. I know we are ready to embrace the future with hope, compassion, and collaborative spirit our city is known for. So to everyone in this room, to every Edmontonian who's helping build a resilient, vibrant, future-focused city, you're making this city and Edmonton for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Mayor. I'd like to welcome to the stage President and CEO of the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, Doug Griffiths. We get to listen in on their one-on-one follow-up. Let's get into it.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. Again, you are an amazing host. Thank you so much for doing this for us every single time. Thank you. Now, time is of the essence. I have a million questions, and I only have 15 minutes. So we're going to get into it, but I want to address you for a second first. We get at the Chamber criticism sometimes for being too soft on the city, and we should challenge them more. And then the next phone call says we're too hard on the city, and we should work with them more. We try and walk a fine balance because every community I have ever worked in around North America, I've never seen a city successful where the Chamber and the city are constantly at odds and antagonistic to each other. So we will always be honest and frank, but we will always be an ally to help make the city great. Okay, here we go. So the very first question I have, I understand the challenges the city has with resources. Adding 100,000 people in 2 years, and the trend doesn't look like it's going to stop. It's equivalent to building the city of Red Deer from scratch every 2 years based on property taxes you haven't collected yet. So I understand the challenges, but an 8.9% increase in taxes is challenging when our economy is still recovering and small businesses are still growing. Could you address that for us? Is this a long-term trend, or how are we going to have sustainable tax increases in the future?
You know, I hear you, and I hear a lot of Edmontonians. This was not an easy decision, but it was a decision unanimously supported by council because we recognized that decades of underinvestment in core services, at the same time artificially trying to keep taxes lower, that did not grow with inflation, that did not grow with the population growth, put us into this position. Along with the very challenging situation, which I absolutely understand, that the provincial government went through very difficult time as well in the last number of years. Now things have improved. That number of support that we were getting from the province also declined. But there's also expectation from Edmontonians that we continue to invest in those core services. Almost 80% of our expenditures are on police, public transit, fire service, and community services. So it's very little room to maneuver, which we did. As a matter of fact, this council reduced expenditures by close to $160 million. So that is why it's so important that the motion that I made in April, and we're going to work with our administration to find more efficiencies, and I think we probably be at a place where we need to make some tough decisions on where we continue to invest and where we don't invest. And that will be a very tough conversation, including with the business community, because business community also expect us to invest in areas that are not core responsibility of the city, but they're important for economic growth. They're important for attracting more people into our city, for tourism and everything else, right? So it's not I think hopefully that we can all figure out a way to work together, which we are. Then thank you for your leadership on this and others that I interact with. But this is a real challenge. It is a real challenge, and we need to grapple with. So it's not easy that we don't sit in the chamber, say, thinking about how we increase taxes. We sit in the chamber. I think what was one of my colleagues that said something that if money was to be found, we would have found it by now, right? So it's about choices now. It's about choices where we continue to invest and where we need to stop investing. And I hope that conversation is going to take place when that report comes back to council.
So let me ask you a question now about strategic investments. Where downtown goes tends to be where the rest of the city goes. It's the mecca for tourism, for events, for shopping. Our city is somewhat challenged. It's downtown core. What kind of plans does the city have in place for strategic investments that will help elevate our downtown?
Yeah, this council has been deeply committed to our downtown. We have invested close to $300 million in the downtown core, whether it's vibrancy grants, whether it's infrastructure investments, and that does not even include additional funding for security for transit or additional funding for police, right? So I think the challenge we're facing in downtown is that, and the trend is in the right direction. You heard Chief talk about crime numbers declining, and you heard from our administration that transit is becoming safer. But when people have a bad experience of, seeing crime or being victim of crime, it is very difficult to change that experience, people's perception. So what I would encourage everyone here is that please continue to share what is not working with us, but also take upon you to share what is working. Bring more people downtown. They actually see some of the positive changes happening. Along with, city's support is unlocking close to, I think, 3,000 additional housing units in the downtown. 11 projects are underway. That will increase downtown's residential population, I think, by about 20%. So things are getting better. But we absolutely need to do more. And I continue to engage with the Downtown Business Association as well as DRC and others and the building owners group as well. I meet with them every quarter to understand their needs and how we can work together. And we are deeply committed. Trend is in the right way, going in the right way, but much more needs to be done.
Well, I'm going to be the first to admit that shortly before I took this role on 7 months ago, I was telling a story about being in a Tim Hortons downtown and talking about how I saw someone shooting up with drugs. And I was challenged. I was asked, how long ago was that? And I realized it was a year and a half before. 2 years ago, I saw this, and I was still talking about the one event that I'd seen. So I understand the downtown is getting better. Great work by the city and by the DRC and by the DBA, all working together. But how do we change the story and the narrative about what downtown is becoming? Its transition to the greatest, I anticipate, will be the greatest downtown in the country.
Oh, I was on city council when we made a very courageous decision to build the downtown arena and bring the arena downtown, the Rogers Place, and how that has spurred billions of dollars investment in the downtown. And obviously COVID has set us back. Now we need to figure out, and we are figuring out, and we're investing a lot of money in the downtown core. But I think numbers sometimes don't tell you this story, even though they should. But people's perceptions are very difficult to change. So storytelling is the way. I think if we can tell our own experiences in the downtown, how things are improving, if they're not improving, I think that will help change the conversation.
So carrying on with the theme of the story, one of Edmonton's success elements is that we have actually quite affordable housing rental rates. It's what's drawing 100,000 people here every 2 years, and we'll continue to model our growth. Now, I appreciate you putting me on the housing task force with so many incredible people. We'll come up with all the answers. and I'm going to put you on the spot because every city in North America is dealing with housing, but I think it's pretty important to us to make sure that we continue with the brand that we have, housing affordability. Where do you see the trend going and working with the business community? Maybe it's on downtown conversions because many cities are doing that, but how are we going to continue to model that affordability in the future with such growth?
Well, you know, I try to highlight in my remarks about the work we're doing to help facilitate more growth in the city, including housing. Our city was the first one that removed so many barriers and eliminated single-family use, and as well as encouraging more duplexes, fourplexes, elimination of minimum parking, as well as the overhauling of the zoning regulation. So there's so much capacity in our existing neighborhoods. That is why our plan calls for 50% of the future populations to be accommodated within existing neighborhoods. We have the infrastructure. We have the services in those neighborhoods. And those people moving into mature neighborhoods is not going to cost us more. But if they move in the suburban communities, there's a huge cost to that, right? I think that is the conversation we need to continue to have, at the same time keeping our affordability in mind. I think our city has growing in a smarter way. I would say the kind of urban sprawl, leapfrog development that we used to see, say, 15 or 20 years ago, we are not seeing that anymore. Our growth is more coordinated, even in the suburban communities. I think we need to continue to be on that path, but at the same time recognize that building more police stations, building more fire halls, recreation centers, running more buses, hiring more employees to serve new population in new communities is going to add cost. Yeah. And we have only two ways of raising money: property taxes and user fees. And both are pretty regressive, right? So I think that is why conversations around revenue sources and others, revenue sharing and others needs to take place. And also I think we need to have a very serious conversation with our federal and provincial partners around what should be funded through property taxes and what should not be funded through property taxes. Right? It costs us $28 million every year to respond to medical calls through fire service. Now, medical calls and health-related costs should be funded through income tax, not property tax. But we're required to fund it because we can't just not respond to the need in the community. So it is very important to have these conversations. And I'm hopeful, like I'm not critical. There's a realization happening in other orders of government that municipalities has been picking up a lot of the downloading and paying that through property taxes, that we need to have that conversation. And there's I had that conversation with the Premier. I had that conversation with Minister McIver and Minister Nixon as well, right? I think if we can create a space for continue to explore those conversations, I think we'll get to the right spot.
I want to pick up on a couple of themes that you talked about. Expanding with the growth out in the new suburbs is incredibly expensive with the infrastructure investments. We're dealing with a downtown that is changing and improving. But do you think I'm going back to office conversions, converting some of that office space downtown to residential space, bringing people downtown, improves safety, it populates activities, makes businesses more profitable. Is there something the city can do to help convert more development?
No, we looked at it. And the analysis that administration presented to us, you can dispute the analysis, was very clear that the return on that investment is going to be close to 80 to 100 years, right? So, we talk about tough choices. 8.9 tax levy is very, very high, but supporting conversions would have required another few percentage of property tax increase, right? So these are the tough choices we have to make. I think what we can do, which we are doing, I think the role of the municipalities to enable growth is to make sure that we are removing barriers, that we are enabling people to invest, and make sure that we get out of the way of the private sector for them to invest. Building public infrastructure is the role of the municipality, which we are doing. Safety is the role of the municipality, which we are investing significant amount of money. Public transit that people can get to work and employers can benefit from having access to employees is our responsibility. Removing red tape is our responsibility. And we're doing all those things. But providing subsidy, a direct subsidy to businesses, maybe necessary, maybe not, but it's not really a municipal responsibility, right? I think we need to have these kind of tough conversations as we move forward on building a great downtown and great community together.
We can't leave this stage without talking about provincial legislation, Bill 18 and Bill 20. Bill 18 challenges the federal funds that can flow to post-secondary institutions, to municipalities. And Bill 20 brings in political parties and potentially gives extensive authority to the provincial government to delve into municipal issues. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to those because those are big issues that will impact municipal governance, municipal funding, municipal opportunities to manifest their own destiny. I'd like you to address those.
Yeah. You know, before I do that, I want this room to know that we have a very professional relationship with provincial government. We talk often, we understand each other's needs, and for me, politics has never been personal. It has always been service, is always about conducting myself with utmost respect by my provincial counterparts. And there's so much happening that we're actually doing together. I talked about closing the gap on wraparound services. I talked about how they stepped up to increase shelter capacity in the city. You know, Minister Nelly and we talk often about how we can work together to reduce further red tape. We're aligned on hydrogen. We're aligned on innovation. So there's so many areas that we're actually working together that community doesn't get to hear about. On Bill 18 and Bill 20, I wish, had they talked to us in advance, we wouldn't be in this position. I can tell you, you know, I was a federal minister for 4 years. If we want to have an arrangement like Ottawa and Quebec, province of Quebec have, there's a lot of red tape. Projects get delayed by years and years because there's so many layers that you have to go through in order to get projects approved. I can give you a couple of examples that would have been delayed. Nate's Innovation and Productivity Center would not have happened under Bill 18. The investment into Fort Edmonton Park to build the Indigenous Peoples Experience Pavilion would not have happened under Bill 18. And Yellowhead expansion would have been significantly delayed because federal government stepped up first, province came later. 50th Street is the same situation. I think it does not serve us to create more red tape on these issues. On Bill 20, you know, we'll work with the province on that, but that piece of legislation, I really don't know what issue province is trying to solve. That's why I wish, had they sat down with us, we would have avoided this whole kerfuffle that we have seen over the last couple. It's one of those things that if we just engage earlier on, we can avoid a lot of these tensions.
Thank you. So time is up. Do you have any last closing remarks you'd like to leave people?
No, I deeply appreciate this group in this room, and I engage with many organizations, and our council engages. I am so lucky. I'm so lucky that I get to work with such a dynamic group of people, and our administration is phenomenal. You know, sometimes change can bring some anxiety, but change can also unlock so much new ways of doing things and creative ways of doing things. And every day I interact with Edmontonians. Every day I actually interact with our administration. I see talented people, I see committed people, and I see people who are deeply determined to build a city that is thriving and a dynamic place. So I'm very optimistic about our city despite all those challenges, and I have full confidence that by working together, we are capable of tackling all these challenges that you identify, that I identify, that I hear from Edmontonians. Edmonton is a phenomenal city. You know, this is a city that lifted me up to be in this place. For someone who came from somewhere else with nothing, if I can be in this place, just think about the capacity of our collective will to help each other, how we can continue to create opportunities for everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I know our organizations will not always agree on every tactic that we need to move forward, but we have the same goal in moving this city to achieve its full potential. And I particularly appreciate your genuine compassion and caring for every single citizen in this city and giving them a sense of belonging. And I want to say thank you to the business community. Continue to watch what your new chamber is going to be doing in the months to come, pulling this business community together to help Edmonton and the economic ecosystem achieve its full potential. We have a lot of work to do. We're going to get it done together. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Mayor Sohi and Doug as well. Of course, great job. I want to invite up, just so we can snap a quick photo to commemorate this event. I want to ask Elder Irene to come on back up here, as well as John from Epcor, and we're going to get a quick